Now, I've released a lot of content on this channel about how the Conservative Party as a political entity are totally depraved monsters. And I don't think anything properly tells you just how monstrous they are than this story right here. So, something I talk about a lot is how it's actually cheaper for the government to just pay disabled people their welfare payments than it costs them in all of the administration fees to put them through all of the humiliation of all of the different PIP assessments and work capability assessments that keeps them on disability, which is obviously a waste of money, but either way. The rabbit hole goes way deeper than that. The rabbit hole goes so deep in that not only are they happy to pay money to try and make sure that they force people who are disabled to not get access to their disability benefits, when the same people who are failed by the Department of Work and Pensions end up dying, they will pay money, they will waste your money at home, by the way, your money, your taxpayers' money. They like using that phrase of the Conservative Party, taxpayers' money, don't they? They will use that money, public money, to try and hush stories, to try and restrict documents from public scrutiny, from legal cases reviewing these people's deaths. Of course, they don't want us to know that they killed them. There is nobody in politics more depraved than the Conservative Party. I like to talk shit about Keir Starmer, and I will always talk shit about Keir Starmer. He sucks. But the Conservative Party as a political entity are just vermin. The worst people you could ever hope to meet, right? And this is on top of all this money that they're spending trying to prevent the release of documentation essentially showing why their failures at the DWP led to disabled people dying. This is after the fact that they tried to slash welfare for the disabled, knowing that it would cause loads of actual material harm to the disabled people of this country, and not bothering to care because all they cared about was saving money. That's after this coming out as well. More than £50,000 of taxpayers' money was spent on lawyers to try and prevent the release of a safeguarding review ordered after a disabled man starved to death in his own home. The costs were part of a bill nearly £1 million spent under the last government to prevent the release of various documents under the FOI Act. It included spending by the Home Office of £30,000 to block a request by The Guardian for the total cost to the public of protecting the royal family. The figures were revealed after requests by the Democracy for Sale newsletter, which sought details of spending under the last government in attempts to prevent the release of information. Because they don't think that you, viewer, you, citizen at home, deserve to see documents pertaining to their actions in government. They think that scrutiny from the public is beneath them. Because if there's one thing about the Conservative Party, other than them being vermin, other than them being demonstrably evil people, they're also entitled. They also have this innate sense of entitlement, and they feel like they're born to rule. And people who have that entitlement, who feel like they're born to rule, also feel like they shouldn't be scrutinised for the way in which they rule. And they will use your money, they will use public money to prevent scrutiny of the horrendous actions that they take when they're in government. Some of the spending that was uncovered related to an attempt by a campaigner of the Child Poverty Action Group charity to obtain the results of a review by the Department for Work and Pensions into its safeguarding procedures. The existence of the review was revealed in reports about the death of Errol Graham, who starved to death in June 2018 after the Department for Work and Pensions wrongly stopped his out-of-work disability benefits, leaving him without any income. The Information Commissioner ordered the department in 2022 to release the results of the review, which the DWP had been trying to keep secret for 2 years. Graham, 57, weighed just 4.5 stone when his body was found by bailiffs who were trying to evict him 8 months after his benefits were stopped. It's dystopian. It's the most dystopian shit you've ever heard. It reminds me of David Clapson, the man who had his benefits stopped because he couldn't get to one of his JSA meetings. And he died from hypoglycemia, from not being able to afford to put money on the meter to keep his insulin cool. He died with an empty stomach and with a sheet of CVs next to him. Genuinely the most dystopian image I think I've ever heard within the media. Essentially sanctioned to death by the Conservative government at the time, because the Conservatives are monsters. They are honest to God, genuine monsters. Actively denied dignity and death, You're 100% right. It's just, I don't know how people can support or vote for these people. I mean, there's literally a video of somebody in the 2017 election sitting next to Dominic Raab saying, I am having to ferry people to escape England to move to Scotland. I am having to get people escape routes out of England if they're disabled to come and live under the Scottish National Party because they're the only party in the country who will actually protect the disabled. That was what life was like for the disabled under the Conservative Party. Absolute crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And what Dominic Raab said is that having a system that protects the disabled was a fantasy wish list because the man is evil, like not human. A lizard man in a human suit. Despite spending £35,000 on solicitors and £15,000 on a barrister, the Department for Work and Pensions appeal was dismissed and the information was disclosed to Owen Stevens, a Universal Credit Advisor with the Child Poverty Action Group. A TWP spokesperson said the department complied with the FOI guidance, but added, occasionally we exercise our right to challenge decisions from the Information Commissioner's Office, which can incur legal costs. These are justified to ensure that we are protecting and handling information lawfully in accordance with the FOI Act, which is, of course, bollocks. They didn't want you to know that their failures killed somebody. One of the many casualties of the Conservative era, which may remind you led to 330,000 excess deaths. Social murder.